Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I'm your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how the hell are you?
Good man, another week talking more wrestling. We have not been lax for topics on these shows lately.
No, we have not been. I forgot to post on Twitter. So I'm doing that as we speak. Marcus, I caught the premiere episode of the newest season of My Hero. I assume you saw the second episode?
Yeah,
Was
I'm
it,
gonna be watching the second episode after the show actually tonight, but
what did
premiere.
you what did you think of the premiere of the dub?
Oh, I loved it. I was anticipating hearing the voice actress again for Star Stripe. I always appreciate um the dub. That's to me that's kind of underappreciated. Part of My Hero is the dub actors and what they do. But yeah, it was sick. Like I told you, they got straight down to business, and it was a hell of a way to kick off a season that I'm pretty sure is going to be on the gas the whole time.
I wonder where they're going to break the season off at because it feels like there's going to be at least one more season unless they intend on finishing things up this year. But the manga is still ongoing. So I feel like that's not going to happen. Like what are the odds that the manga finishes in time for the show to finish?
Yeah, and they also got a fourth movie coming. Uh,
So there were like at least one more season then.
yeah, likely. So that's going to be
Well,
interesting.
while we
What did you?
ponder that, yes, Marcus.
No, I was just saying. What did you think? Did you like it?
I did. I did. It was as described, balls to the walls, fast paced, just a lot of just insanity. So I appreciated it. It was a good fun time had by all. That being said, we do have some semi breaking news. Jordynne Grace, he's doing some work for the Evil E, the Evil Empire, the WWE. Ava Rain, is that still her name? Ava Rain.
Yeah, they just going by Ava now though.
Such a weak name, but whatever. Ava Rain introduced Jordynne Grace as Roxanne Perez's newest challenger for the upcoming NXT Battleground pay per view. And I have mixed feelings on this. Marcus, you were the one that broke the news to me because I was not watching in any way, shape, or form NXT. What was your takeaway? Did you like the way they did it? Obviously, you were shocked. I,
Yeah,
I knew that just from your text.
yeah. It was. I did not expect that coming at all. I was waiting to see who it was going to be because obviously obviously Natty's been back down there, but she's been more of a supporting role in certain instances. But that's usually the spot where they'll take somebody we know has been on the main roster for a while and have them come back down. Obviously, it wasn't going to be Becky again because I think she's perhaps taking a break. So I was waiting for perhaps anybody else. Did not expect Jordan when I heard the music. I literally caught myself with my mouth open. And yeah, that's a hell of a thing. It's interesting because I'm sitting there like, okay, well, this at least tells me that there's some linear cohesion with the TNA brass in terms of what's come before and working relationships that can still be established and going forward. And the fact that this happens, I mean, like I said, it's some of what Scott laid down is still functioning to a point. So, like I said, I don't know how this is gonna go, but it is cool to see. And for as much as the internet fans like to give TNA the black sheep treatment, stuff like this just continues to prove that they all player on the board. You know.
And that's the thing that is going to be interesting to see how it plays out because Is this an audition for Jordynne? Is this a working arrangement? I'm no fan of Triple H, but Nick Khan has kind of made it abundantly clear he wants to work with other promotions. On one hand, I see this as a very good thing. It gets TNA the rub, it gets some excitement around the brand, it gets some notoriety for the wrestlers involved, but I also can't help but wonder, and sincerely at that, if this isn't going to become an issue where WWE starts doing to TNA what they've done to others in the past, which is poaching talent at an alarming rate. Now, TNA has guys under contract, far different than a lot of other companies, but that doesn't mean that inroads and conversations can't be had, especially when you have like Jordynne Grace backstage at NXT. You know, WWE is not afraid to break the law. We know that. Triple H is not a good human being. He has no morals. He has no ethics. He will sit there and be like, hey, I'll give you 4 times what you're making if you come on in. It's like, we know he's going to do that. And I'm afraid that that's going to be a thing that he keeps doing. Now, if he's above board, which I don't think he is, if Nick Khan, who I think I have a lot more faith in, is above board and goes, listen, if you give us Jordynne to take the L to Roxanne, or even to have a schmaz no contest finish, then we'll send Trick, right? He's the current NXT champion.
Yeah.
We'll send Trick over, and you can use him in a tag match with Moose against whomever you want. I think that would be good. It would draw some audience members. I do have concerns, though, as we all should. The WWE should not be trusted. They are a scumbag corporation. That being said, if it does help TNA in the long run, that's a good thing. We don't like to stick our flags out loud and proud because we think more wrestling is better for all. But at least I would consider myself, if I have a home promotion, so to speak, is that of TNA. Would you agree?
100% agree with everything you said, and I'm glad that you kicked things off saying, like, because that's something that flashed in my mind too. I'm like, this is a hell of a great scenario for a second audition.
Mm-hmm.
That may not be intentional on Jordan's end, but don't think that WWE's not looking, because what they need, what they want, what they desperately desire is to have more talents that look the part of Jordan's, of Bianca's, of Jade's, but also have that pure wrestling ability of like a Natty. Um, and Jordynne, fits a very particular description. I'd actually put her, she kind of reminds me of a kind of almost an alternate version of Bianca in certain instances in terms of her physique and then what she can do. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Home promotion feels like TNA for me as well. Obviously we don't like you said, delve into the tribalism. It's idiotic to the highest degrees that you can imagine when it comes to the internet. But also, like you said, if it helps TNA in the long run, more power to them. Like I said, somebody in TNA brass is clearly wise to seeing the prosperity of collaboration, and I can appreciate the fact that WWE revisited this in terms of getting Jordynne, and like you said, hopefully we can see that reciprocated, or at least some kind of way, whether it be talent or some other version of that. But we would appreciate the talent thing because it'll be the ease. It's not like we haven't seen a swap-esque before. It probably was begrudgingly back then. I think, didn't they do like a Ric Flair Christian swap?
Yeah, and Christian didn't want to. Christian didn't want to come back.
Yeah, so this seems far more consensual, if you will. So, like I said, it was a shock. It's gonna be great for Jordynne. Great look for Jordynne. She immediately got a TNA chant, which was great. It's also going to improve Roxanne, who will be severely outpowered. So, like I said, I don't know how they're going to book this. I would imagine they're not going to make Jordynne a double champ. So it's gonna be interesting seeing what they're gonna do with it. But you can't be mad at the look. Can't be mad at the look.
So there's kind of two pressing matters to discuss about this that I want to address, but there's also one other that I want to kind of point out that was humorous. John Gresham tweeted out, and John Gresham, for those who don't know, is married to Jordynne Grace in real life. John Gresham tweeted out, "You said you were going to the grocery store."
Oh, that is hilarious.
So on one hand, Jordynne Grace shouldn't be eating L's to the diminutive, tiny Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez, if her ceiling is Deonna Purrazzo, which sounds impressive, it's not. Out of 10, she's a 6. Like, what's the 1-to-1 I want to like? She's Psychosis in WCW. She's I don't want to say Dean Malenko because Dean Malenko was an all time great, and I don't think Roxanne Perez is ever gonna be there. But like she's a good hand. She's a great NXT champion. She'll be a mid carder in the WWE. With the way those belts get passed around, it's very likely she'll get a run with the Raw or SmackDown version eventually. But we talked about this before with Liv Morgan, and Liv Morgan I don't think is that girl. But I think Roxanne Perez as a worker's good. As a star,
Yeah.
no. So I feel like if Jordan eats a clean loss here, I feel like that's a problem because Jordynne Grace is a legitimate right now top 20 women's wrestler of all time. She's got the look, she's got the skill set. She's not a great talker, but she's imposing and she does have charisma. She's got 4 out of the 5, tools, so to speak, which is more than Roxanne Perez has. And I feel like if you're going to have your champion do the JOB on the PPV to Roxanne Perez, you better be getting a big payday back or an even bigger favor in return. Now,
Yeah.
if the way to go is this is the semi-main, Jordan and her go to a double DQ, double count out, what have you, and you just, balls to the wall, tits to the grits, whatever you want to call it, right? Just go
It's silly.
smash all against each other and just have a banger, and then have a double DQ. Or have whoever Roxanne Perez is feuding with currently or was feuding with, 'cause I'm sure she's. Triple H has one storyline. Tag team partner betrays the others. So I'm sure Roxanne Perez has a tag team partner that
Oh,
betrayed her, or she betrayed. Just have her run down and have the match go to a DQ.
yeah. Or to your point, this could be the full thing because she's basically been working heel, but she's been winning clean.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be the thing that they do to cement her as a heel because, like I said, she is about to be severely outpowered in every possible way. Like I'm sitting up there once they ended the segment, I'm like, Jordan's gonna be tossing her waffle style, like it's a falafel, if you will. And I'm just sitting there like, this would be the reason where she's like, because she's been working so hard to get the title back that it's like, well, I'm not gonna lose this. So to your point about a DQ, she could just go grab the belt and smash Jordan in the back of the head and just take the DQ finish. Because at this point, was obsessed with that title that she was. It's not about how you keep it; it's just about keeping it.
Mm-hmm.
So, always go with the championship advantage. She's working heel anyway. So that, to your point, I think you can go that way. What I just said, or very much like you said, go another direction. But like you said, hopefully, because it also, while we were talking, Jordan was also in a backstage segment where she challenged somebody else for next week's NXT to ahead of Battleground to kind of do like, I guess, a test match.
So she's gonna be wrestling on NXT.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a little additive to that. But yeah, like you said, hopefully there's a huge favor returned in that because, like I said, we definitely know one thing's for sure: they're not gonna have her win the belt. So we're gonna see how they execute that. Guess we gotta have faith in the Heartbreak Kid on that.
And truthfully, I don't. But that's just the way it is. Speaking of the way it is, we had 2 big pay-per-views this weekend, or PLEs. I got to get used to saying that. The please. We had AEW Double or Nothing. We're not going to go through every single match. That would be very long, much like the show. MJF came back rocking his best Bret Hart / Triple H look. There was 12 matches, 10 on the main card. Perazzo defeated Rosa. The Thunder Variety. The Acclaim defeated the Cage of Agony. So Brian Cage is already going pre-show matches again. That was a great signing by AEW, yeah. Will Ospreay defeated Roderick Strong to win the International Championship. The Bang Bang Gang saw the return of Juice Robinson, which is great, to retain the Unified World Trios titles over Pac, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Rey Fenix. Timeless Tony Storm defeated Serena Deeb to retain the AEW Women's title. Orange Cassidy defeated Trent Beretta. Jericho defeated Hook and Katsuyori Shibata to retain the FTW. They're teasing a Samoa Joe stable with Hook and Shibata, which I'm intrigued by. John Moxley defeated Konosuke Takeshita. Takeshita, am I saying that right? Konosuke Takeshita to retain the IWGP Heavyweight title. Or no, it was an eliminator match. My bad. Takeshita.
Konosuke Takeshita. Yeah.
How do you say it?
Konosuke Takeshita.
Takeshita. Okay. Adam Copeland defeated Malachi Black to retain the AEW TNT Championship in a barbed wire steel cage match. It saw the return of Gangrel to pro wrestling, although he was with MLW for a hot minute, like a year or two ago, so he hasn't really been gone. Copeland broke his leg in the top cage dive spot that he did. Mercedes Moné beat Willow Nightingale after Chris Statlander turned on her. Monet has now won the TBS Championship, which is the women's TV title. Swerve Strickland defeated Christian Cage to retain the AEW World title, and the Elite defeated Team AEW of Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin, Cash Wheeler, and Dark Sadwood by pinfall to win the Anarchy in the Arena match. So a few quick notes of this. Obviously we mentioned MJF and Juice Robinson both returned to the show. Trent Beretta is taking a hiatus off of it. Adam Copeland, a lot of discussion about his top rope spot. A lot of people going, oh, why did Malachi Black lose? Why did Adam Copeland do something so stupid? He's a dummy. He's 50. What was he thinking? And it really just felt like a bunch of like broken up boyfriends that got dumped for being slobs and lazy and basically holding everyone in their life back. And then their girl has a glow up, starts dating some rich hot dude, gets married, and inherits millions, and then they're just like, oh, she's just a hoe. She just loose. She's for the streets. It's like, no. Adam Copeland decided he wanted to do something dumb. I wouldn't have done it. But Adam Copeland missed a decade of his career. He is not going to have any regrets, and God bless him for that, because that was entertaining as hell. Now, there was some people saying, well, Macho Man Randy Savage did that and his knee was messed up and he never was good again in the ring. Macho Man was also already on a bad knee and was already declining. And anyone who watched him in 97 should know that because all of his matches were like brawls. So like we're recontextualizing the past to fit the narrative, which is obviously what the IWC is going to do. The accounts that farm engagement are the fucking worst, and I say this with all sincerity, I hope they all lose a toe. Because they're terrible people. The biggest issues they didn't even talk about. They're like, well, there's the Copeland spot, and then there's the Jack Perry getting set on fire by Darby Allin. Even though Jack Perry was literally practicing for it at home, posting videos and all that stuff. That's what all those videos were of. Like when he was posting them to his social media accounts, him doing like big kicks and like stunty dives and stuff. He was practicing being set on fire. Darby Allin apparently also has a license for a flamethrower, which of course he does. Darby, no. Darby, yes. Those weren't danger spots. Well, maybe Edge was because he broke his tibia, but I think about the fact that like the minute Jack Perry got set on fire, you could see his gear was doused in that heat resistance, fire resistance gel, and then he was immediately put out. And I think back to like Bray Wyatt was set on fire. Remember that? Just doused in flames. Grab
Yeah,
Randy Orton. That wasn't too dangerous.
or when it had to be, yeah, it was definitely Shane because Taker wasn't taking it. The when
Shane got
Shane
set on
jumped,
fire. JR got set on fire.
yeah, or the one
Kane,
time jumped off the cage one of the last times and you immediately saw the crash pad.
right?
Yeah,
Abyss got set on fire. The Dudley Boys routinely put guys through tables. Abyss actually caught fire. Bound for Glory, I think it was '08. He got power bombed through a table and was literally set on fire.
yeah.
I hate the IWC. Before WWE's glow up in the last year, they weren't so bad. They were just little children having little pissing contests between each other. But when Cody got hot, which may be the greatest mistake in wrestling history, because it made WWE fans fortified to think that their mediocre product's not mediocre. He brought a whole new level of toxicity up with him. Now it's not Cody's fault. Cody solved racism. He's a good person. So like the fandom around him got toxic because that's what happens with popularity, and it's not just wrestling fans. Like I hate the internet. It brought me Marcus. It brought me Zach. I will forever be grateful. But I have their phone numbers now. The internet can blow up. I'm good. I've made my two friends. I don't need any more.
Uh, likewise. By the way, this conversation is mildly triggering as a Zack Snyder fan.
Yup. But
He is a
like,
good person, but his fan base turned toxic.
right? So like, it's just one of those things where it's nothing that was on AEW was outlandish or bad or stupid or oh my god. There's two legitimate gripes, and they are tied into one another. One, I don't need a 10 match card. I don't need a 5 match card either. You can do 8, split the difference, give me a few matches under 10 minutes. You don't need 16 to tell a story every time. Half this card I didn't need. Uh, Kaneshke, Takeshita, Takamanopia,
You like
Kaneshke.
Konosuke.
Konosuke. I can say Konosuke, so we're going to stick with Konosuke. I didn't need to see a New Japan. He's not even. Does he even wrestle in New Japan? Isn't he just on furlough to AEW currently?
Pretty much.
Like, I don't need to see some DDT reject getting title eliminator matches on pay per view. Like, who said that was a good idea? And who keeps giving him 10-star matches, 10-star reviews on Cage Match? Kaneshke Takamishinoku. He isn't that good. Like, he's good. He's not that good. And I feel like they're really trying to turn him into something. And I feel like with Hiroshi Tanahashi coming to town, I feel like it's just a matter of time before he like takes him back with him. So like cool. I don't need to see mid card Kaneshke on pay per view like that. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see Orange Cassidy versus Trent Beretta. I love Orange. Trent Beretta is a. If I said Roxanne Perez is a 6, Trent Beretta is a 4. He's a good hand.
Yeah.
Put him on your C show in the main event, your B show in the mid card, your A show as a jobber. Don't put him in an actual feud. He's got no personality, no charisma, and he was only there because Chuck Taylor was the personality, and Trent was the worker. Without the personality, Trent Beretta has zero value. I don't need the fucking trios title matches between the same 4 teams. I don't need Jericho on pay per view. Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale didn't need to go 18 minutes. Moxley and Kaneshke didn't need to go 17. Timeless Tony Storm and Serena Deeb didn't need 15. Are you kidding me? Like, what are we doing here? Swerve and Christian should have been 14 minutes max. Like, this
You,
show did not need to be 5.5 hours. Marcus, I wasn't even watching the show when it was airing. I was watching, ironically, I was watching the Monday Night Wars with my girl because she wants to like, understand more of the history of the business. And at 12:30, I'm like, babe, this AEW show is still going on.
oh wow. Well, again, shout out to your girl. Continues to impress with her wrestling enthusiasm.
Right?
Uh, only aided by you, of course. But you speak to something that I swear to God, I almost text you about it last Wednesday. It's like, why does every like Dynamite before these pay-per-views for AEW, the show is already at 7 matches, and on that Dynamite they got to add like 5 more every time, and it's always they always add them the Dynamite right before. I'm like, the damn show is already at 7 matches. Why does this need to be 10, 11 match card? You always go over everything. I don't know why they don't already have a pay per view called Overrun,
Would be
because that's
more
all they
accurate.
do. That's all they do. It's like this. Y'all added like 4 or 5 matches that didn't need. I'm like, what made the pre-show?
I think it was the Thunder Rosa, Deanna Purrazzo, and then a tag match, I think. Let me see if I can pull it back up real fast. It
Yeah, but it's just
was the Acclaim taking on the Cage of Agony.
makes sense, but still, it's like that. You needed 2 more pre-show matches, 2 more of those matches to be on the pre-show because we didn't need all that. There they go, much like WWE with the more is more, not less mentality. They do this every freaking time, and I found myself like mentally trying to gaslight myself into watching the show, and I didn't watch none of it live either.
They need to cut down. Like, you could do 3 hours. Like, if you're going to do, I don't know how many pay per views. So let's just say you want to do one a month. You want to do 12, right? Do 8 of them 3 hours, hard 3 hours, and then the other four you can give an hour and a half more. You can do 4.5 hours, if they're the big ones. The problem is they try to make like they try to do the UFC thing where every show is the next great show. I prefer the TNA model. We know Bound for Glory, Slammiversary, and Hard to Kill are usually going to be 3 of your big four, and then usually there's a fourth one in there just for some pizzazz. The rest of them are going to be TNA Plus shows. They're going to be 3 hours. They're going to be special events. You're going to see some wild things. Alex Shelley won the belt at a TNA Plus event. So it's not like you can't. It's not like you can just like snub your nose and ignore them. Like, big things still happen. But the big shows are the shows that people tune in to see, right? So I feel like AEW needs to really work on their timing, the length of their shows, because as we found out with WrestleManias over the years, doing 6-hour shows is unsustainable for a crowd. Now, the answer isn't to do 2-night events either. The answer is to do less wrestling in a weekend. I feel like that doesn't need to be said. You can, in fact, kill an industry by overexposure. And everyone's like, well, it didn't happen with Raw. Yeah, it did. Raw went from averaging 5-6 million people to averaging less than 1.8. People don't tune in for Raw. They still show up for the events. But clearly there's not a driving presence anymore for Raw because of how long it is. There's a reason why SmackDown is the A show now. I
Yeah,
feel like that shouldn't be something that's complicated to show you. Like, yes, just because something didn't die completely doesn't mean it didn't hurt. So I feel like AEW is running the risk of hurting their viewership even more, but with these long ass shows. And I feel like the answer isn't more wrestling from AEW; it's less. What I would do right off the bat: cut 20 wrestlers. Maybe you wait until their contracts expire. That's fine, but at least 20 guys got to go. Then what I would do is demand, very pleasantly, to Time Warner to turn, what's the Friday show, Rampage? I think that's the
Cut
Friday.
20 wrestlers, man.
Cut 20 wrestlers, but what's the Friday show? Rampage?
Yeah. Rampage is Friday, Collision Saturday. Yeah.
I would beg them to turn Rampage into a Ring of Honor show. I would then segment the Ring of Honor roster and put guys on the Ring of Honor roster that are, in fact, Ring of Honor. And the first thing I would do is move Bryan Danielson to that roster and have him win the belt. Because I don't know who the Ring of Honor champion is right now, and that kind of goes to show you just how relevant that belt is. Do that. Then you cut back on the length of shows. Tighten shit up. Let the deadweight walk. Focus on Hook. Focus on MJF. Focus on Darby Allin. Stop worrying about certain big time names. Now we're going to talk about one big name that I think they should absolutely be interested in. But the general idea being is that you focus more on developing the AEW of it all. Because that was supposed to be the point. And instead they really overinvested in guys like Pac, who is about as charismatic as a piece of Swiss cheese that has been moldy out in the sun for 6 hours, right? You need characters, you need personalities, you need promos. That's what sells. I hate to break it to you. Roman Reigns isn't a great worker. Roman Reigns isn't a great draw. Without Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns doesn't get to this level that he has. He had the basic acting talent to look mean, which wasn't hard because that's just his face. And then you had Paul Heyman do all the heavy lifting. Paul Heyman made Roman Reigns a great character. The great character of Roman Reigns brought people in. Then you built up a pretty simple storyline of Cody trying to take the belt off of Roman, and you made some money off it. Wrestling's not hard. It is the easiest thing in the world. The thing that kills it is ego. Ego and overabundance. You don't need 160 wrestlers on your roster. You don't need 3 independent shows. You don't need 2 companies. But there are ways to make it work if you decide to do so. These are the ways that AEW can get their shit together.
It's funny you mentioned. It's funny you mentioned ego, because somebody with a big one just debuted in NXT.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Did All Ego actually debut in NXT?
Yeah, and he attacked Trick, staking his claim for the title after attacking Noam Dar and the guy with the dreads in that group.
Remember when Noam Dar was like this hotness coming out of his short, brief run with TNA?
And then he just became like an Alicia Fox rookie.
Basically. Like, what the fuck happened to Noam Dar? Like, he's been in the WWE, it feels like, since 2014. That's not the case, mind you. I think it's been since 2018. But that's not a good thing, right? Like, I feel like Noam Dar has done nothing in that promotion. At all.
They've since his 205 Live days, it seems like a whole other life ago at this point. They put him primarily with the Heritage Cup and let him run with that for a little while, and now that's kind of getting, I'm not gonna say passed around, but essentially. So
Also, let's just be very clear. All Ego Ethan Page, if we're giving people numbers, is a 5. No one should be like, oh my god, NXT just landed All Ego Ethan Page from AEW. All-time win.
but you know that's gonna be the narrative, at least for this week.
There's so many guys that have left TNA. Like, if Brian Cage walked out of AEW tomorrow and said, I'm going home to TNA, I would be like, yes. Yes, Muscle Man God, yes.
They go put on a banger with Josh Alexander because he's in the ring with Josh Alexander.
Right? Like, but like, you know, even if Johnny Impact returned, you know, Taya returned, I'd be like, this is great. I love it. Yay. If All Ego returned, I'd start putting my head through a wall going, why? Because here's the thing, he's not a great worker. He's fine. He's not a great personality. He's loud. And he has the ability to speak, but nothing he says is ever worth listening to. I've watched this man in 2 promotions, and I see 0 star power from him. Now, that could always change, you know. You get the right creative minds, the right personalities. Anything can change, right? But I have not seen him as a draw. And I'm pretty good at spotting draws. You know, I saw Swerve Strickland come in 2016. I can spot guys. Like, Ego might be fine. I wouldn't put money on him. Being some kind of big serendipitous get.
Yeah, yeah, I like Ethan, but I put him in the same scenario as Spears, Sean Spears.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Perfect example.
He debuted as well, and he hasn't really shooken the tables at all either. So I think probably the best place for guys like that to be are NXT, because at least they'll get more opportunities to be mid and potentially go past that. But if they came on the main roster, it'll just be a wash. Like at that point, those guys would be guys they feed to Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Braun Breaker's your star. Let's be clear about it. He's the star of the future. Let's talk about the stars of the present, though. King and Queen of the Ring. Hate the name. It's such a mouthy thing to say. 6 matches. 1 was a pre-show. The tournament was fine. Some of it didn't even happen on television. That was stupid. Bianca and Jade defeated Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell to retain. Then we had Liv Morgan defeating Becky Lynch to win the Women's World Championship. Liv Morgan's not a good worker. Like, I know she sells a lot of merchandise, but here's the thing. When it comes to athletes and especially social media stars, and it seems to skew women's specifically, being attractive is very helpful for selling. A lot of people don't have any talent, but sell a lot of things on social media. So, like, to say Liv Morgan's a draw because she sells a lot of merchandise, no, Liv Morgan's a draw for some people. I don't think she's entertaining. I don't think she's talented. Giving her lots of shots. But, like, the only thing that they can really do is, like, this faux influencer drama that we're seeing, like the farming accounts that are popping, like, oh my God, she told Rhea Ripley she was going to take everything she had. This is so incredible. What a great storyline. Is it, though? And, like, Dominic Mysterio's not great. He's fine. But are we still pretending that he's some great prospect? He's not. I feel like if he was, we would have seen it. We would have seen it in his matches, and we really haven't. I feel like just like with Ava Raine, Dom only has a job in the WWE because of his father, just like Ava only has a job because of her father. Cody said it best. Like, he believes in nepotism. Clearly, so does the WWE and Triple H as a whole. So I'm not overly excited, but they had to get the belt off of Becky because Becky's done in the company. We'll talk more about her at the end of the show. Sami Zayn defeated Chad Gable and Bronson Reed in a triple threat match. Remember when Bronson Reed was more than just a throwaway character? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Nia Jax is your Queen of the Ring, which is all you need to know that the Queen of the Ring doesn't mean anything. In 3 years, the Queen of the Rings have been Zelina Vega, and Nia Jax. Tell me more that you don't care about your Queen of the Ring status without telling me.
Quick question: if she doesn't get injured, is this Charlotte spot?
Maybe. Who is even in the Queen of the Ring tournament?
Live Valkyria.
Zelina Vega and oh no, that's 2001.
This year, this was Nia Jax, Zelina Vega, Jade, Bianca.
Okay, so it was Shayna versus Maxine, Io Sky versus Natalya, Dakota versus Lyra, Ivy versus Zoe Stark, Naomi versus Nia, Jade Cargill over Piper Niven, Michin over against Tiffany Stratton, and then Bianca Belair versus Candice LeRae. Didn't somebody get hurt I thought someone got hurt during the tournament.
Uh, Bianca had a knee storyline with Candice LeRae hurt her knee, and
Yeah.
that became a thing throughout the tournament. But I don't know about a real injury.
So essentially, it was poor booking. I thought they went with Nia because someone who was supposed to have got hurt. I don't know why they had Bianca Belair. Like, I'm not too familiar with Lyra. She's an Irish lass. She's a lass kicker. I don't know why Bianca went over on Tiffany Stratton just to lose to Nia. That was stupid. I don't know why Jade Cargill lost to Nia. That was also stupid. Uh, I know who Zoe Stark is. She's very talented. I don't know if she's a star. Io Sky. She's only going to go so high. I feel like they should have done more than likely either Lyra or Zoe against Tiffany Stratton with Stratton going over, or maybe Dakota Kai against Tiffany Stratton, or even Natalia.
Yeah,
I would have done Natalia and Tiffany Stratton. Stratton's the next thing, right? She's the next big thing.
yeah, yeah.
So why are we giving it to Nia, who's already proven not to be?
I guess because
She's 40. She's not a good worker. She's only getting worse with age. And even though they've tried to make her a star, she never has been, never will be. And why are we still pretending that she? If you want her to be fodder, be fodder. But
yeah, I guess because they can do with Nia, um, they could do to Bailey with Nia. I guess what they did with Cody with Brock.
yeah, but no one cares about Bailey anymore either. Like they really
Uh,
dropped the ball there. And like
yeah,
the
no,
men's side, like listen, Gunther was the right pick, or Walter. But like here, like let me just kind of go through this. Since the last official tournament card in 2002 when Brock beat Rob Van Dam, they have missed on every single winner. Booker T, we love Booker. Booker was in 2006, I want to say at the very least 40. Let's do some quick math. Yeah, in 2006, he was born in 1965. So let's see, 41?
yeah,
Yeah, he was 41. Who'd he beat? Bobby Lashley. William Regal in 2008. He was also probably in his 40s. Let's see, let's do some quick math. 2008, Regal was born in 1968. Oh, that's not the wrong one. He was 40 exactly. He beat CM Punk. In the same year, CM Punk won the world title for the first time. The next year, Sheamus defeated John Morrison. Now, listen, this was mostly the wash of it all. Sheamus has never been a great star, and maybe had Morrison won this, he could have been. We'll never know. 2015, Bad News Barrett, who was already in like the third rebrand of his gimmick, lost to Neville, who, while I've never been a fan, was pretty hot at the time. He was one of the few guys on the WWE roster who wrestled like that. Barrett would retire like within a year. Baron Corbin defeated Chad Gable in 2019. We can all agree that was a mistake. 2021, we love Xavier Woods, but over Finn Balor, an all-time great who needed the win. Bad news. On paper, going through beating Randy Orton is the right call. But looking at this historically, since 2006, nearly 18 years, where we've only had 7 champions of the King of the Ring. I'm not optimistic, Marcus, about the King of the Ring either. As a show, it was not great. Gunther defeating Randy Orton ended in a schmoz that everyone's like, listen, that wasn't good. We all saw it. Yada yada yada. Eric Bischoff was like, I know, Randy. If they did it that way, they did it that way for a reason. And now I'm thinking, well, why did they do it that way for a reason? Why can't Gunther just go over? He's gonna face Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. It might as well be a clean win to really put over Gunther even more. I don't get it. And then Cody Rhodes defeated Logan Paul to retain the title, and this annoyed me because Cody, I think like the day before, even tweeted out that it was belt for belt, title for title. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. Now, I don't know if Logan Paul cut a promo or had that changed in the storyline or what have you, but it was announced title for title. And then Cody won and didn't get Logan's title. And I was just like, well, that's stupid. The show was bad. It may have had some moments for some people, but by and large, it didn't make a lot of sense. And that's how you know it's a bad show. Marcus, any thoughts on the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring?
Look, I can appreciate they put more importance on it. I would imagine that's going to be a thing going forward with the winner potentially getting a title shot. I also appreciate the fact that there was a clear intentionality of them letting these guys like really work with some nice lengthy matches with some quality to them. Because like you said, like you kind of had nowhere to go but up, and this is not intentionally trying to take a shot because I like both Xavier Woods and Zelina Vega, but your last two crownees were Xavier Woods and Zelina Vega. And at least with some of the names that we talked about just now, like look how much mileage Booker T got out of that King Booker thing, and like some other people had got some mileage out of it because really it was just a thing in name only. Like the prestige had kind of faded by then, so them putting more importance on it now is appreciated. But like I said, I get Nia from the prospect of what she means versus Bayley, but like you said, Bayley ain't exactly hot despite the perception of her in the company. And Gunther, like you said, is definitely the right choice, particularly if you're gonna have him finally drop that IC title with no rematch, by the way. So that kind of immediately let you know that they were very intentional about putting the rocket on him and get him to the next thing, particularly the world title picture. So I don't necessarily know if he's gonna beat Priest. Because doesn't Drew have him first? You got to fight Drew first. One of them, but it doesn't seem like between McIntyre and Gunther. I don't know how much longer Priest will be champion. But yeah, like you said, the King of the Ring, it happened. It was fine. Like you said, it had its moments. Check off another Saudi obligation because that's what basically it is at this point. But yeah, I won't. It's not something I'm gonna go back and watch at all.
I think what's funny is we're starting to see people talking about Damian Priest's title run being compared to, ironically enough, I think it was Jack Swagger's. And by gosh, by golly, isn't that just the most accurate comparison? I know you love Damian Priest. Like, I don't want to dog on one of your guys. But also, I don't like him the way you do. And I don't think he's a main eventer. And yikes. Just yikes. So I'm curious to see what they do with the King of the Ring. I think Gunther versus Cody makes most sense, but I would also love to see Gunther take the belt off of Priest and rule the roast on Raw. Rule the roast toast, something like that. Rule the Raw situation as it would be. I think he'd be perfect for that.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I know we're finna go to the next thing. But like I said, there's situations where it's like this is the right person to win it, and then sometimes it's like yeah, that might be true, but then like there's a larger narrative here that kind of takes precedence. So to me, everything that's going on with Liv, as much as I like Liv, ultimately all roads lead back to Rhea Ripley. To me, with that, when it comes to this world title picture, even with Gunther and McIntyre involved, do all roads lead back to Punk for that title?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I think Punk is eventually going to get that belt somewhere down the road. And I think you need to set that up in the best way possible. So maybe you do Priest versus Punk. I think if you do that, though, you're telegraphing it. If you move the belt to McIntyre, though, McIntyre apparently hasn't signed a new contract yet, or maybe he just did. Did he just sign a new contract?
Yeah, he did a video.
Just
And
signed a new contract.
that pay-per-view is in Scotland.
So maybe you move the belt to McIntyre, then you have Punk take the belt off of McIntyre later on. Maybe you move the belt to Gunther. Because I think Clash in the Castle is before SummerSlam, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you just have Drew win it, then he faces Gunther at SummerSlam, and bada bing, bada boom, Bob's your uncle. Gunther's the world champ. We'll see. There's a lot of ways this can go. So we'll see if we get any good resolution from it. Though I have my concerns. All right, let's hit the wave of Exodus that is AEW. Arn Anderson has announced he's leaving. And that's a huge loss. He actually holds the rights to the Four Horsemen. And there's a part of me that feels like if TNA signs Brock Anderson, who already left, and was like, listen, Arn, why don't you come in? We'll do the Four Horsemen right. Put Brock in it, build around the right guys, really make some waves. I feel like that's the way to go. Arn could act as the J.J. Dillon type. You can give him a role backstage. I'm sure Tommy Dreamer and Gail Kim, who are pretty much running the ship down there, would love to have Arn Anderson. More than likely, he'll go back to the WWE, though, because he does have a relationship with Triple H. Ric Flair always, spoke highly of Triple H. Arn always thought highly of Rick, which, say what you will about what that, means for Arn. He'll likely end up back in the E. Marcus, do you have any place where you'd like to see him?
Much like you, I think he'd be a great benefit to TNA, but I think from both an ease of entry, if you will, and financially, I think the transition will probably be easiest potentially with WWE. I would imagine they kind of got their team locked in down at the Performance Center, but I feel like there's always a spot you can fit somebody with the um, just the wrestling intellect and archival knowledge of somebody like Arn. And they could easily just put him on a Legends deal as well. I mean, I think of the Four Horsemen, and by the way, it's very cool that he owns those rights.
Mm-hmm.
Of the Four Horsemen, he's clearly going to be far more easy to deal with than Rick, who they seem to be loving at arm's length, if you will. Um, not that he makes it hard to. So WWE would probably be the easiest, but I think in terms of effectiveness, I think TNA would be a great play.
Then we have the news that Mark Henry is done in AEW. I feel like we're in the age of the extended youth. Somebody once pointed out that a 36-year-old in 2024 looks a hell of a lot younger than a 36-year-old in 1994. That's probably fair. Mark Henry's 52. I don't know what he has left in him. But I bet you could get a year or two out of him if you're TNA and be like, Mark, you're going to wrestle once every 5 weeks. All you need to do is squash some X Division guys, squash some smaller guys, and then maybe beat, Jake something on your way to a title match where you'd lose and put the champ over. What do you say? I don't think Mark Henry would say no to that. I really don't. I think he still has the desire to do it. He even said he's not done in wrestling. He's got some other priorities he's going to take care of, and then he's going to come back. To where he goes, though, is going to be the unknown question. I I think you can get 8 to 12 matches out of him a year, especially if he's not doing a lot. And I would like to see those matches happen in TNA because TNA needs all the eyes on the product as possible. And if you're able to make Mark Henry look great, and I mean truly fantastic, do it. He's an Olympian. I think he's a gold medalist. No, he's a bronze medalist. Apologies. Kurt Angle was the first WWE gold medalist wrestler. He's a bronze medalist Olympian with world's strongest man records to his name. I don't see why you don't bring him in. Marcus, I am a lunatic, and I know this. Would you want to see Mark Henry come back for a little tete-a-tete in TNA, even if it was only for a few matches a year?
Yeah, I'm down for that idea 100%. And I was gonna toss this idea at you. What if he didn't want to do that because obviously, the weird thing is you keep all talking about the age, and you're right about that. But the interesting thing is he's legitimately, one of the world's strongest men. held that title for real. So like even his out of shape is probably better than most people's in shape. Um, just because of how he honed his body for all those years. Um, but in case he didn't want to, because you couldn't tell by his tone when he said I wasn't done with wrestling if he meant just in within the industry being involved some kind of way. Because I think when it came to AEW, because I watched that Busted Open interview, he worked a lot behind the scenes in terms of community outreach for AEW. He didn't just, for those listening, didn't just. And it was very easy to kind of be like, they got Mark Henry just on TV going, it's time for the main event. Like, but he apparently was spearheading a lot of the community outreach, which makes a lot of sense. Um, if you hear people talk about Mark and his everything that he does. But how would you feel like, say they did a storyline where somebody took out Santino? Would you buy him as an authority figure? Or would you like him, not buy him, but like to see him as an authority figure?
So I was thinking about this the other day about Bret Hart and how much value he would have in today's wrestling. And the thing that I always came back to with Bret is he was a competent talker, but he wasn't an engaging one. So, like, what value would Bret Hart have? Like, maybe you could bring him in as a manager, maybe that would work, just as a rub. And I think the concerns I have about Bret Hart kind of, falling flat as anything more than a manager could be equated to Mark Henry as well. I think Mark Henry, while he is a good talker, I don't find him overly engaging. Like with Santino, he's a Muppet.
Yeah.
Right? Like if he were to come out in a stock Muppet gear, right?
Yeah.
I would believe him. I would believe that he grew up with Kermit the Frog. Hey, Santino Marella here. Like, I would believe that. So I find him interesting. I find him engaging. I don't think he's a great character by any means, but he's at least entertaining. I don't think Mark Henry is that kind of entertaining. I think with Mark Henry, you have to put him in some type of situation where his ambiance, his aura, his legacy plays to it. So as a manager, as a wrestler, maybe a commentator with the right play-by-play guy, but in a situation with specifically just as a head of the department, head of wrestling, it'd be interesting. I don't think it would be it'd be an interesting thing to see. I don't think it would be an interesting thing to watch, if that makes any sense.
No, you're right. But one quick thing: if he did come back wrestling, would you like to see him do anything else besides the Hall of Pain stuff again?
Hmm. I genuinely am not sure. It would be something that I would have to see play out and would have to see what the other options are.
Yeah,
Because there could be a lot of ways to go with this.
yeah, because the last time we saw him active in WWE, he kind of was just the world's strongest man with the bald head and just coming out there smiling and doing certain feats of aggression and strength. And it really just kind of was a snapshot of just where he was then. But like there were a few people that were more entertaining to watch than when he was in the heart of that Hall of Pain run. So I guess for me, I guess I, like I said, if he wasn't wrestling, I want him to kind of give that energy to people on the mic. If he was an authority figure, but now that I'm thinking about the roster, it's like it's not really a lot of people on TNA's roster that could be like getting up in Mark Henry's face. Like I would imagine Macklin would do it, and he got the stature and stuff like that. But it's not like it's a lot of um, Jake something size guys that are get in Mark Henry's face. Not that that's anything I recommend in storyline and certainly out of storyline, but that's the thing. He will be interested on commentary though. That would be because he's not really somebody that I think holds back even when he's supposed to hit a certain mark. He kind of reminds me of JR in that way.
Mm-hmm.
When he sees something stupid, he can't really ignore it for the sake of the continuity of the match. So yeah.
All right, so let's pivot over to the last one. It's Jake Hager. He's no longer in AEW as well. He's ridden off into the sunset, so to speak, after what I can only describe as, if Brian Cage is one of the worst to ever happen in terms of like heading over from one promotion to another, I think Jake Hager is the worst. The dude left AEW WWE as a former world champion, went to Lucha Underground, won the world title from them right before they went under, and then showed up in AEW after I thought he would end up in TNA, and did nothing for 5 years. He did a few multi-man matches. He was Jericho's heavy for a while, but he didn't do anything. Like, it was a waste of a run, and he's a hell of an athlete. He's an undefeated mixed martial artist. Now, I covered his MMA run. Part of my job. He did not fight anyone we're talking about. I think he beat them all by like a side choke. It was unimpressive. But he's still undefeated, and no one can take that away from him. So that being said, I feel like if he feels like he can still be a top guy, I'd love to see him in TNA. Get him the right manager, I think he'd be truly over. I think it's the Roman Reigns of it all. If you find the right mouthpiece for him, he will get over. He's too good in the ring not to. But also, if he's not wanting to go to TNA to prove himself, and he's 41, I think, then go to WWE. He'd be the perfect foil for Chad Gable. You bring him in with the Creed brothers, but not just them. I think the idea is to, get... Now, maybe they'll put Otis and... who's the Japanese wrestler with them right now? I forget his name. Do you remember?
What are you talking about? Gable?
Yeah, in Gable's stable.
Yeah, Kira Tozawa.
Yeah, Kira Tozawa. If you put Tozawa and Otis and Maxine Dupree together, that's a nice little stable, but you could also just bring them over into this super elite group, right? Tozawa's an amazing athlete. So is Otis in his own right. I don't know if Maxine Dupree is, but like, there's room. You have the Creed brothers as your tag team champions, so to speak, and then you have Hager and Gable, who are Olympic caliber wrestlers. Well, maybe not Hager. Hager was an All-American, I think, in Oklahoma. I don't think he was an Olympic caliber athlete. I know Gable was. I think you'd have a really great stable right there. And maybe even, bring back Kurt Angle. Pair him up. Or bring in Mark Henry. Pair him up with that group. And make it a lot, in the veins of, like, Olympic greatness. I think that could be something fun to do. But I also think Hager and Henry have room for them in TNA. Hager could show up in MLW and really take the cake. There's a lot of avenues that this can all go. And I'm curious to see how it turns out. And what about you? Any interest?
Yeah, I think he could be a great fit in TNA. They always, they've made AJ Francis interest.
Yeah.
Never saw that coming. And improved Rich Swann in that regard. Didn't see that coming either. So I think they could find a spot for him. WWE obviously. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know immediately where they put him. Obviously, I guess they give him a new thing. So God knows they're just throwing him out at this point. But I think he could be great, particularly in the scenario you talk about with the Creed brothers or Gable, however that worked out. Could you also see him doing something in NWA?
Hager, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I could see that happening.
Yeah. He definitely should be raring to go because I don't think he's really done anything of note for over a year and a half. He should be fresh.
He really should be, but, we'll see if that ends up happening. All right, last but not least, Becky Lynch no longer under WWE contract by the end of the week. She says she's not imminent to join AEW. She wants to take a hiatus, but, who's to say that she won't go there eventually? Would you like to see would you like to see her show up in AEW, TNA, or do you want to see more or less her return to WWE eventually?
I feel like she's a WWE life at this point. Not at all too dissimilar from what I imagine her husband is as well. But if I'm being quite honest, uh, I just I actually just need a break from the both of them right now. Which is why it's kind of refreshing to not have Seth on TV right now with her. I can imagine she would need a break. She was held at they put the title on her because they needed her to do the business or whatever, and she was heavily involved in the storyline while she was promoting the book all at the same time. So maybe she wants to take like time, personal time, and obviously some mommy and me time, if you will, with the young lass. And she may just need a mental break. I understand that as well. So, yeah, if she popped up anywhere else, I think it would be surprising. TNA definitely would be surprising. But it almost kind of feels like what we were getting with the McIntyre thing, where it's like, oh, he might not sign, he go somewhere else, and it's like, nah, he's too like this is the person like they just kind of put in spots. Not saying she's definitely earned everything she's had, but she's one of these people that they kind of always keep in the buzz. If she goes somewhere else, that might not necessarily be the case. I don't think she could just if she went to AEW, they'd immediately put her against Monet, obviously because of affiliation, and she would be the second biggest woman there. But also, I don't know if they could. You talk about that might actually be the reason why they dropped 20 names if they brought her in, because I would imagine that pay scale would be insane. So I just think she's probably just gonna take a break and come back to WWE ultimately.
I hope not. I'm a fan of a little chaos. I think Becky Lynch could pop on over to AEW as big time Bex. I think Tony Khan will not just match but surpass any number Becky Lynch has in mind. And I think Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, and I feel like if you're Tony Khan, that's the way to go. If you can't have Cody Rhodes, if you can't have Ego, if you can't have whoever else is popping over to the WWE, have the women's division be the bread and butter of your brand. Because as much as people want to say it is for the WWE, it's not. It's Cody. Cody and Punk. It's Cody and Punk and Gunther. And maybe a few other guys sprinkled in there. You could have the women's division that you've always dreamt. All you got to do is overpay for Becky Lynch. I think that'd be a huge fucking get. And the chaos that would ensue from it.
You think you hate the internet now?
God, I'd love to see it. God, I can't. Would love to see it.
It was me, Austin.
It was me, Austin. It was me all along.
Oh man.
All right. So, with that all being said, is there anything else you want to touch on before we head off?
Oh, that's pretty much about it. What that TNA pay per view is what week after next?
Week after next. We'll talk more about it next week.
Gotcha.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, we're out of here. You can find us on Twitter at NERDCRP and on the website at realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCORP. We are also on the Twitter at NERDCRP. We're on Instagram. Nope. We're on Twitch. Yep. At Wrestling Underground. We're also on the YouTube at The Wrestling Underground. Those might be switched, so just, try your luck with both. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TRUEPENNYSHOW. You can find me on Twitter, Chad Nerdcorp, CHEDNERDCORP, and on the Instagram at ChadSphoto at CHEDSPHOTOHUT. We'll be back next Tuesday for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. So for Mark Shreen, I'm Chad Porto. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember to always watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night.